We're going through the entire New Testament, and we're going to reduce the New Testament to 27 verses. We're going to look at an overview. I'm calling it a jet tour of the New Testament, and I'm going to give you the key verse from each book. And the key verse sums up what the whole book is about. It can't contain every part of it, but often there is a verse that outlines the whole book. Many of the books of the New Testament, the Holy Spirit... Now, you know, it would be impossible for this to happen if somebody was just thinking it up. But because the Holy Spirit superintended the inspiration, He actually breathed out His words through the writers. It is so wonderful that sometimes He told them exactly at the beginning of the book what the whole book was going to be about, and it just lays out, just like you'll see in several of these. Now, as we begin our overview of the New Testament tonight, I want you just for about 30 seconds to step back and see the big picture. Someone wrote this poem, and it's really neat. It kind of gives you the whole New Testament and ties in the Old Testament. It's called An Architect's View of the Scriptures, but it says this: "The Bible," and I quote, "is like a majestic palace that's been constructed with precious oriental stones, comprising 66 stately chambers. Each has an individual room, yet each is part of the whole edifice. It's incomprehensible, majestic, glorious, and sublime." As we go in the vestibule of this beautiful structure, the book of Genesis is found, and there is recorded the mighty workings of a God in creation. As we pass through this vestibule, we go into the law courts, which, when completing, we see a picture gallery of the historical books which hang on the wall. There are scenes, battles, and portraits of men laboring for their God. Battles of valiant heroes continue those walls. On through there, we come into the philosopher's chamber, then into the music room of the Psalms, where we linger to hear the grandest harmonies that ever fell on human ears. Pressing on into the business office of Proverbs, where in the very center hangs the motto, "Righteousness exalts a nation, and sin is a reproach on any people." Then in the research department of Ecclesiastes, through the conservatory of the Song of Solomon, where the fragrant aroma of the sweetest fruits and flowers and the sweetest songs greet us. On to the observatory, where we find the prophets busy with strong telescopes, looking for the appearing of the bright and morning star, the Sun of Righteousness. Walking across the courtyard, we enter the audience chamber, that's where we're going tonight, of the King. The Gospels are portrait galleries, where hang 4 beautiful, lifelike portraits of the King himself and all the perfections of his beauty. Through there, we come to the workroom of the Holy Spirit, the book of Acts. Then into the correspondence room, where we find Peter, James, John, Paul, and Jude bending busily over their writing tables under the direct supervision of the Holy Spirit of truth. Finally, we enter into the greatest room, the majestic throne room, where echo the grandest praise, honor, and glory to the King. Enthroned, he fills the vast chamber with portraits of solemn scenes of doom on the walls, but all associated with the conquest of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's the whole Bible. I think whoever wrote that did a good job. But in the New Testament, as you turn there, and we're going to start in Matthew 2:2, we are looking from the beginning of the New Testament to the end, and we're going to find Jesus Christ. And that's what I'm going to show you with the theme of each book. The New Testament opens with his arrival. It moves into his ministry of 3 years, his death, his glorious resurrection. He comes back to minister for 40 days with his disciples. We know that because Acts tells us that he remained with them after his passion for 40 days. Then he ascends up into heaven, and 10 days later the apostles, who were left alone and fearful and waiting for the promise of Christ, receive it as the Holy Spirit comes upon them on the day of Pentecost, the 50th day after Passover. Jesus Christ, as he promised, sent the Spirit, poured out his Spirit. After the day of Pentecost was fully come, the church was born. The first 8 chapters of Acts tell about Peter. The next chapters from 9 onwards, Saul, named Paul, comes to the scene. He is the focal point as God moves his redemptive program out to the Gentile world in particular. Then come the epistles, or letters of comfort and instruction. And then Jesus closes the book as he takes back his wayward universe in the culmination of Revelation.